let that start up, and then, there we go. What I have to do is I have to get my API key. Oh, this is not working. All right, I'll just copy it. Open up a new shell. Doesn't matter. So what I'm doing is I'm getting the token that I could use here, because I need it to do the calendar injection. So what I'm doing is I'm grabbing a token from my G Suite account. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to set up the invite here. So I'm going to zoom this in so you guys can see, but first I'm going to replace this token, because this token for the API injection only lasts for 1 hour. So let me actually set that up, and then I'm going to take this blob to do the calendar injection, and we'll see it pop up. But before we inject, if you could, we're on computer 2 here, I'm going to go log in to just a regular Gmail account. Let me do that. Let me go into the calendar. And here we are. I'm going to delete this Zoom meeting. I just got to check one thing real quick. Because I was testing this today, I don't want to redo something. Let me see something here. Okay, fantastic. All right, so as you can see here, we have a blank time. This is actually now. And we have, if you look at the red line, this is current time. So now I'm going to inject the calendar invite. So let me copy the blob again. I'm going to zoom out. Then I'm going to go over to my virtual machine and paste it in. I'm going to inject. I'll let it zoom in there. You can see that it's injecting into mitnickdemos@gmail.com, which I'm logged into over here. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh. And all of a sudden here, I'll zoom in here so you can see it. We'll go back, let me. Right here, you can see I have the Zoom meeting right below the red line. So what I'm going to do is click on it. And take a look at this. I'll try to zoom in on this as well. Zoom meeting with screen share, the date, time, the link for Zoom, that it's being mitnick@demos@gmail.com is the target, and it's coming from event manager at pycon.us.com. That looks legit, right? So now, let's go back and bring up our Trojan listener. Same one we had before. So we're going to go ahead and be the victim and join the meeting. So let's go ahead and join. And by the way, this is really Zoom. The only difference is I'm proxying everything to the real Zoom except one thing, joining the meeting. So every time you fire up Zoom, it will ask you to install either an extension or run their application so you can actually join the meeting. So we're going to do that. You can see down here it's a one-click app. So I'm going to simply open it so I can join the meeting. And then it's going to download the Zoom software, which is the real Zoom installer. And then you could join the meeting. But we're not going to bother. What we, as the attacker, are interested is back over here on the attacker's machine, we have our Trojan back, or our malware installed on the victim's machine. So how we start off is very good pretext, injecting a fake calendar invite because it requires no authentication whatsoever, only to my machine that I'm injecting from, injecting a fake Zoom meeting that when they join the meeting deploys malware onto their desktop, and then I have full control. So this is how to do a phishing attack, really without even sending an email. If you want to do it that way, I've done stuff where I just inject calendar invites and people join.
And any stops for that?
What?
How do you see that coming? How do you stop that?
It's quite difficult because Google was advised of this vulnerability by Black Hills Security, and they set up an option on the UI that allows a G Suite administrator to check a box, and it doesn't allow calendar events to be accepted onto a calendar without someone accepting the invite. However, through the Google API, you could bypass that mitigation. And that's what we're doing here, and Google has decided not to fix it. So guess what? The bad guys are going to take advantage of it. So again, it's back to user education and training and simulated attacks to inoculate people against these type of social engineering attacks.
So speaking of Google, since we're talking about it.
Yeah, they were storing our plain text credentials. I don't know if you saw this in the news, but Google had sent me an email recently that to reset my passwords because, oh, by the way, for the last 10 years, we've been storing your credentials in the cloud. Unbelievable.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, they published a paper talking about two-factor authentication.
Yes.
And having that stop most phishing attacks. So we're all phishing attacks.
Well, that's not necessarily true. It really depends on what type of two-factor authentication process the victim is using, but it's quite easy to phish people even if they have two-factor auth enabled. In fact, to do this quick demo, I'll let the audience, I weaponize this on a few sites. I'm using a friend of mine's tool called Evil Jinx, written by Kuba, who actually lives in Poland, and this tool is really quite effective. So, what do people prefer here? Do you prefer LinkedIn? Do you prefer Google? Do you prefer PayPal? The audience, speak up. What do you prefer? PayPal. It's a bank, right? So it'd be actually kind of cool to do this with PayPal. So let's go ahead and do it. Let me actually remove this Trojan. So let's go over here. And let me log in to my Outlook account, actually. Never. Okay. So have you ever bought anything on PayPal and then you get an email to please pay for the transaction? I do it all the time. You get these reminder emails, and what we're going to see here is a real email from PayPal, but it's been weaponized as a phish. So, I'm going to go over here. And if you could put computer 2 on both screens real quick, I need to do something. So computer 2 on both. Fantastic. Just give me 1 second. Okay, you could put 1 and 2 back up. Wait a second, before you put 1 and 2 back up, sorry. Okay, 1 and 2. Fantastic. This black box on the MacBook will become important in a moment, so you'll want to pay attention over here. Now, we're the victim, and we're going through our email. Let's go down, junk, 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 and we got notifications from mypaypal.us.com. This is actually a phishing domain, but a lot of people will fall for this, especially non-security folks. So let's go and click on it. Now this is exactly what PayPal looks like. In fact, I purchased this Elmo, it's sitting here, and this is the exact email I received to go ahead and pay 332 quid, British pounds, and simply pay on, to pay it, click on the Pay Now button. So let's go ahead and do it. Go into my KnowBe4 accounts, and I'll even show you guys my password. There it is, just to test 6FA, and hit login. What? CAPTCHA? Oh, okay. Let's see, at least it's not that crazy. Yes, 52. Fantastic. But before we do that, what I want to do is if we could put the Elmo up, Elmo and computer 2. So Elmo and 2. Elmo and 2. So computer 2 and Elmo. There we go, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and complete the CAPTCHA. Now it's going to text my two-factor code. And now let's see if it comes up on the phone here. And voila, it does. So it's 887131. So let me actually type that in, 887131. Now if we could put computer 1 and 2 back on screen. So we're going to hit continue to log in. And here we're logged in over here to PayPal as the victim. We can go into the wallet or do any sort of PayPal transaction we like. But you saw something happen on the left-hand side, or whatever, the right-hand side of the screen here. So what we actually did was we proxied the victim through my server, and we're able to capture their session key. If you don't know what a session key is, when you authenticate to a website, so you don't have to keep re-authenticating for each page you go to, it will actually create a session key, right? So what we're doing here is we're stealing the victim's session key. And we, just for grins, it doesn't even matter once we have the session key, but the password to the PayPal account is right here. Kevin Mitnick at knowbefore.com, password's here. So what we're going to do is we're simply going to copy the session keys. We're going to fire up a Firefox browser. Go to paypal.com, the real one. And then what I'm going to do is just insert the session keys into the browser. This is essentially what I'm doing. So I've inserted that. I'm going to close this out, and I'm just going to refresh the browser. And voila, now I'm logged into the victim's PayPal account by stealing the session key. So just because you're using two-factor authentication, if you still fall for the phishing attack, it's still game over.
You recommend people don't use two-factor now?
No, absolutely use two-factor authentication.
Okay.
I mean, you have definitely, it has more benefits. You know, when you go to a doctor for surgery, you know, they tell you, you know, what are the risks, what are the benefits, and using two-factor authentication actually outweighs the risk. Of course, how to fix this is you don't use text-based, SMS-based two-factor auth, or even push with Google or Google Authenticator or Authy. What you have to do is you have to switch to a YubiKey, or Google has these Titan USB keys. So if you switch to using these, oh, how's this box open? Oh, it's sealed. I'm not going to bother opening it. But Google has the same thing. It's a hardware key, and it uses FIDO technology, UTF, which in this particular case, if a target is using UTF, we can't exploit them, right? So it's a bit inconvenient because now you have to carry a piece of hardware to auth using two-factor authentication. So you have to decide for yourself what you favor more, convenience or security.
Fantastic. So a little nerve-wracking there, although a little Duo won't hurt you every now and again, a little multi-factor possibly.
Well, still would work for Duo, unless the user is using their a key, the hardware key, right?
Okay.
So yeah, Duo actually has text-based authentication as well. So it really depends what you choose.
Yeah, you don't use that.
Yeah.
Okay. So stealing personal identity. You run around. I didn't tell you this part, so sorry. So you said 3 minutes.
Probably less. But what's important here is you're not stealing someone's identity to run over to Best Buy and buy a television.
No, you have to include that in there.
Yeah, that's not so interesting. What if you could steal somebody's identity and get access to their cloud services? Now that's interesting. So I'm going to need a volunteer. You have to be over 21 years of age. You can't, and live in the United States, of course. You can't have a simple name like Bob Wilson, John Smith, because I'm querying a database and there'd just be too many returns on that. So if you have a more of a complex name, over 21, but most importantly, you have to give me consent to get as much information about you and share it with the group. Now, of course, I have the face of trust, so you can always trust me. You have to decide whether you're going to trust your colleagues. So do I have a volunteer that's willing to do this? Where? Or is somebody volunteering you?
John Smith? Sorry. They
No,
said
it can't be
behind
John
you.
Smith.
They said behind you. That's not me.
Okay, you, sir? Come on, give this gentleman a hand. And what I need to do is have computer 2 on both screens for a second. Computer 2 on both.
You want him up here?
Yeah, he can come up.
There's always one. There's always
Just
one.
give me a second, I have to set something up.
Okay.
Very brave. So just give me a moment, please.
Is that for him? Imagine that. Is your name Zanzibar Vance, by the way? Oh.
Right.
Something unique and weird?
Interesting. Is that on?
Do you live in, by the way, do you live in Utah?
Should be.
Okay.
Interesting spelling of the word for the name Michael.
Okay, let's see what we can find, but give me 1 sec. Just have to set this up. Because I have to do this like crazy authentication for this service, if you want to call it that. Okay. It's a hassle.
It's a hassle stealing people's identities.
But
Just-
like, I still have 3 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So-
Well, I mean, it kind of started a minute ago.
Okay, 2 minutes.
Okay.
Hey, we can handle you all day.
Okay, just give me a moment. I have to now do this like 20-factor authentication. In a second. And okay. That was kind of slow, but give me 1 second. I'm almost done. And you can step over here, sir. What's your name, by the way?
It's Mike North, or
Yeah.
Michael, but spelled M-I-K-E-L.
Oh, okay. And do you live here in Salt Lake, or where do you live?
Yeah, just down in.
So that's a
the
piece of
valley.
information you shouldn't have told me, right? Okay, so you can put computer 1 on both screens, please. So now I'm finally logged in here. So you can come over here and watch if you like. So what I'm going to do is query this database to see how much information I can find out about you.
Okay.
So North, if I could actually type it in. North. And it's Michael spelled M-I-K-E-L. Is that Russian? Let's just search all of Utah.
Middle school torture.
All right, let's just search all of Utah. Okay. Because it is kind of a unique name. So we got 27 results. So now let's just go to Salt Lake to make it Salt Lake City, Utah, just to make it faster. Because I could kind of look at your age and kind of eliminate a lot of people. But we're just going to do this. And now we have 1 to 16. That look familiar? Yes, okay. So this is you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is your social. Let's unlock it. So that's your full social security number right here, your date of birth. Here's you recognize your Utah driver's license number? Yeah?
Probably.
Probably, okay. People don't usually recognize their number. But let's go to something you might know about. Do you know anybody who lives at Heritage Farm in Riverton, Utah?
Maybe.
Someone you might know? Okay. Let's zoom out a little bit. Let's go up to phone numbers. And we have 2 possible phone numbers here, not that many. You recognize 801-209-8826?
Do you?
That
might be his.
Oh, okay. Maybe somebody in your family? Yeah, I might have some family members here that you might recognize? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go to the addresses. So here you're currently at, but you used to be here on Red Tail Drive back in 2018. But you're relatively young, so you didn't move around a lot since you're 22.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay. I'll finish up and you can sit down. Thank you for letting me steal your identity. So, what's the next step of the bad guy here, the threat actor? Give him a hand. The next step of the threat actor is to go to freeannualcreditreport.com. Now I know where Mike, I know his past addresses. I know probably a past phone number. I have his social, I have his date of birth. I can now go to freeannualcreditreport.com and put that information in to get his 3 credit reports from TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. And what do I want? I want his the credit card details. Now, when you pull somebody's credit report on freeannualcreditreport.com, it asks you 5, 6, 7 multiple choice questions to verify your identity. Sometimes the questions are like this: what county do you live in? Well, I have his address, so it's not too difficult to figure that out. Do you recognize any of these phone numbers? Do you recognize the street name? Usually the answers are so easy for a threat actor to guess, but most of the time, if it's a question like what's your auto payment, what's your mortgage payment, you can simply pick one of the choices is none of the above. And if you get 90% of the questions right, it defaults to give you the credit reports. Why? Because they don't want telephone support calls. So now I have Michael's I have his 3 bureau reports. I don't have the full 16-digit account numbers from the bureaus. I only get the first 12. They mask the last 4. But all MasterCard and Visa accounts are computed using the Luna algorithm. So it doesn't take much effort to work out likely card numbers. And once you identify the correct one, which is another easy process, now let's say he uses Linode or Azure, Amazon. A lot of these cloud providers, if you don't have access to your email address anymore, they will reset that for you if you verify your payment information, your address, the credit card you use, and that sort of thing. So what we're able to do is reset the target's email address. Once we reset the email address, then we can simply reset the password, because now we have the controlling email account. Once we do that, we're in the target's cloud services. So that's how stealing identity could result in compromise of cloud services.
So in terms of preventing getting your identity stolen?
You can't prevent your identity from being stolen. There's too many companies out there. Well, the bureaus sell this data to a bunch of companies that resell it, to information brokers, private investigators, insurance underwriters, and this sort of thing. But what you can do to at least protect you from financial fraud, and what I personally do, is I put alerts on all my bank accounts and all my credit card accounts that if there's a debit for $25 or more, I get a text message. So if somebody actually attempts to defraud me financially, not accessing my cloud services, but financially, I'll find out about it within 10 seconds. So then I'm able to mitigate it.
Yeah, understood, yeah. So your exploits, any banks in your past? In your future?
Just a little.
Okay.
So I really love doing security assessments that involve physical break-in, because there's a lot more risk to that. Even though Kevin Mitnick is carrying out a get-out-of-jail-free card, if I get arrested during one of these legitimate security tests and I show the cops an authorization from the client and they run my rap sheet on their terminal, they're going to go, oh no, this is social engineering, we're taking you downtown. I don't want to go through that process, so I make extra efforts when I'm doing physical pen testing not to get caught, because I don't want to go through the hassle.
Again,
right?
Sorry.
So, how many of you in your companies use keys or access cards? What's common for you guys? Cards, right? And the most prolific vendor of access card technology is a company called HID. In fact, I have a HID reader here. So what I'd like to do is to do this demonstration, I'd like an audience member to let me use their HID card for this demo. It should say HID on it. I have a lot of people that come up with the wrong type of cards, like Indala cards or MyFair cards. This has to say HID on it. What a HID card looks like, it's blue and has HID on it. In fact, if you could put up computer 4 on both screens. Computer 4. Fantastic. So this is a HID credential. So if I pass it to the reader to open the door, see, this is connected. Great. So pass the HID credential, and we get the side ID and the card ID. And those are the only 2 pieces of data I need to clone a card, so I become the target. So does anybody have a HID card here we could use in this demo? Anybody? Can you bring it up? Yeah, just right here. Give this guy a hand. Thank you. Pleasure to meet you. Let me see if this is actually a his card. It is. It's an eyeglass card. All right, fantastic. Let's stay right there for a second. I want to make sure this card works. So I'm going to take this gentleman's card. I'm going to pass it to the reader. And great. We have a 37-bit card. You can sit down now. So we have his card ID and side ID. So just with those two pieces of data, I could clone this guy's card. So I was hired to hack into a very large bank in the States. And there was 2 steps to the attack. The first step was bypassing building security. They were in a skyscraper. They had armed guards with guns. And you had to bypass these people, and you had to use a hit card to get to the elevator. Then you can go to the floor. And this was shared office space. In the second part of the test, I was on this floor, and I hid out in one area. It was actually the one door I could enter without a hid credential to steal somebody's access card data. Where was the one place I can go without having a hid credential? Bathroom, right? So I hid out in the bathroom, and I used a Proxmark device, which you can buy for 400 bucks. These are widely available. I hid out in the stall, and then when some guy went to go use the urinal, I exited the stall, stood next to him, and I used this device to steal the card data. Now, usually in the men's room, when you're at the urinal, you're staring straight ahead. You're not paying attention left or right. You're focused straight, right? So it's not too difficult to steal somebody's credentials. But with this type of device in hand, actually enabling it here, you can't, in the restroom, be next to somebody anywhere and use this device to get close to them. They're going to jump back. This looks suspicious.
You need to leave one in the middle.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to conceal it. We're going to simply put the device in something that looks fair, like a laptop sleeve, right? So you wouldn't really think twice about somebody being next to you in the restroom, the smoking area, or outside when you're at line at Starbucks, holding one of these, right? It only takes somebody getting within 2 to 3 inches of your hit card, so we'll do that here, and it's already red. So let me actually take this device out. Then I'm going to put this into play mode. There we go. So now I take the card. If we look up at the screen here. So it's 1135477. That one, I take the device, and it's the same card. So this is how I was able to actually, on the floor of the bank, get the hit credentials of an employee to actually get into the facility. But the problem was, how did I get to the floor in the first place? And that was difficult because I realized they had armed security. And I had to be extremely careful. So what I did is I placed a pretext call to the leasing department, the leasing management office of this skyscraper. I told the young lady that answered the call that we just had a fire in the building where our office was, and we immediately needed the lease office space. Can I come in today to take a look at what you have available? And she goes, oh no sir, we're booked up, but you can come in tomorrow. So I show up the next day, I had my suit, I have my daily planner, I have my pen, and she's escorting me around to the different empty offices, and we're negotiating price. And then I asked her, I go, when we lease an office from you guys, how many keys do we get? She goes, oh no sir, we don't give you keys, we give you cards. And she actually points to her hip, and she has like, Max here, has a card dangling on her hip. And I go, oh wow, you give us these cards. That's really cool. And I go, I never saw one of these before. Can I see it? Can I check it out? She goes, sure. She takes it off, and I look at it, and I just take a quick look, and I hand it back. And what she didn't know, I had a special daily planner with some technology inside. So this daily planner actually will read I-Class SE, I-Class Elite, and Prox cards. So it reads all the technologies that it has available. And what's cool about this device is I can immediately make a new card. So we're going to make a new card that belongs to Max. Thank you, Max. So what we're going to do is take this card, and as you can see, it's 001001. I'm going to open up this device. I'm going to hit one button. That's all it takes. Now we take Max's card here with this photo. Take Max's card here, place it in front of the reader, put his card down, place my card. It's the same card ID and site ID. So this will now open any door that Max has access to. So I now have one of the leasing manager's hit cards. So I was able to go to the parking lot, up the freight elevator, to the bank's floor, hide out the restroom, steal the guy's credentials using the urinal next to me, and that's how I was able to get in to the bank. Now I know what a lot of you are thinking, in the restroom you have to get so close to somebody. Is that real? Is that realistic? We have better technology today. We have devices like this called a MaxiProx, and this device could read your hid credentials from 3 feet away. In fact, I took this over to the RSA security conference last year, and I walked around the vendor hall and read about 187 cards. I wasn't carrying it like this and say, hi, nice to meet you, holding up a hid reader. I actually put it into a backpack. So if you look at the distance here of the card, try to line it up, right there, and that's not on a fully charged battery. So if you want to see what this looks like, if you could put the Elmo on both screens, please. And this is Max's card on both screens. The camera, Elmo, please. Elmo on both. Fantastic. I'm going to put this here. That's, the refresh rate is going crazy. But see if I can autofocus this a little bit better. I'll just zoom out a little bit. And now I take Max's card, and we see the card ID and site ID. It's in hex, a little bit different. But now we can read anybody's credentials from 3 feet away, which is pretty significant. So Max, where are you? Thank you, sir. Thank you. Give him another hand. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Hey, Max, come here for 1 second, please. If you ever lose that card, here's your backup.
All right, Kevin. So we have time for one more demo.
Okay.
And I'm looking at how fast you can crack a password.
Right.
You think you can do it?
Yeah, a lot of times we get into customer systems and we're able to get the hashes. So I bought a couple of Brutalis machines and clustered them together. And what we could do is ultra fast password cracking. Then I want to kind of show you what's in store for the future. So if we could put up computer 1 on both screens real quick. Let me save this. Yeah, hopefully I'm still logged in here. Fantastic. So I want the audience to pick a word and yell it out. That's too short, something longer? No, I can't even spell it. Something better? Raz what? Trout sniffer? Is that a word? Pick another word, like common word. I mean, trout sniffer? Burp? No, too short. Security. Okay, there we go. So what I'm going to do here is put in the word security. Pick 2 numbers. 7
5
and 5. 2 symbols. Exclamation point. And what? Hash. So we're just going to convert this to leet speak. So now we have something that looks like something that would be a reasonable credential, right? So let's take that, let's highlight it. And then, just going to run this demo tool. What we're going to do is put in the credential. Just a little bit lower. Just going to paste in this credential. And then what we're going to do is just convert it to an NTLM hash for Windows. And there's the hash. Now, I'm going to go ahead and run it against my Brutalis machine that has 8 GPUs in it. In this particular one, this is not clustered. And we'll see how fast we'll crack it. But I want to show you as that's running in the background, I'm kind of interested in this new technology of the future where people don't even need to use passwords anymore. It authenticates you, for example, with QR codes and your driver's license. And even Microsoft and companies like Trusana are coming out with this new technology that's quite interesting. So I wanted to show this to you really quick. And I'm going to hook up my phone here as it's running. So this is running. Oh, it already cracked it. Wow. Okay. It was less than a minute. So if you look here, wow, that took 1 second. That's pretty cool. So here we have the hash, and then of course we cracked the credential. It started at 58 and ended at 59. And I had no idea you're going to pick this word and these numbers. None at all, right? So you imagine, we get about, with a clustered, we get about 1 trillion tries a second of NTLM hashes. Pretty cool. So what we're looking for in the future is, let me actually hook up the cell. Go in incognito mode here really quick. Great. Hold on. All right. So let me go in. Let me bring up Chrome again. Go into incognito. Fantastic. And then we're going to hook up my phone. And in this particular case, oh, come on. Now all the messages are coming. How annoying. Okay. All right. So I'm going to hook up my phone here. And then I'm going to go into QuickTime so I can display this on my desktop of the Mac. QuickTime player, file, new movie. Drop it down to my iPhone. Hopefully we'll have a picture of my iPhone here in a second. Or actually not a picture, but a video. Now let me minimize this. So the new way that I'm really following, because it's quite interesting, let me get rid of this, my playlist. You guys don't want to know that. So here I'm going to log into one of my G Suite accounts using this new technology that doesn't even require a password. So in this particular case, I'm going to open up the Trusana app. I'm authenticating with my Touch ID. So I'm going to scan the QR code, which you're already used to for WhatsApp. We've all seen this before. Then I'm going to say, yes, it's me. Now what's interesting about this technology is I have 2 Nevada driver's licenses, right? If you look at these, the information on the front is actually the same. In fact, I don't know if you could stick the camera up, we could see if people could see it. If you could stick the Elmo up, now you get my driver's license number. That's kind of cool, right? Don't put any points, but this is pretty much very similar. Yeah, have to do it like this, right? But of course, every driver's license has a different PDF 417 on the back, a different barcode. So it uses the barcode as a way to authenticate. So first I'm going to authenticate with an invalid driver's license. So I take my driver's license, I scan it, and it basically says it's no good and kicks me out, right? And then you can have a duress driver's license. So this is my duress one. So let me go back. I have to go through the process again. I'm going to scan the QR code. And now I'm going to take the real driver's license. I'm going to accept that and scan it. And now I'm logged in. So, yeah, that's me. So, I'm pretty certain in the future we're going to see more technologies like Trusana and possibly others where people don't have to memorize passwords anymore. So password data breaches are going to be a thing of the past. And whether that's using QR codes and driver's licenses or different forms of authentication, I think that's what's going to be in the future.
No, thank you very much. I think we got maybe one more quick question.
Sure.
If that's okay. Anyone in the audience that might be interested in being pen testers, maybe going down the path that you've gone down, and there's a couple different ways to do that.
Anyone interested in the audience in becoming a pen tester? Oh wow, I didn't realize that. It's a simple answer, just follow in my footsteps.
So it's a 5-year program.
It's a 5-year program. You get a 5-year vacation. It's paid by the federal government. No,
room and board.
Do not follow my footsteps. That's just a joke. But I really believe in hiring really skilled pen testers. I look for people that have the fundamental knowledge of application development, Java, .NET, Ruby on Rails. Somebody that has system and network administration experience. So people that actually have the fundamentals are better at doing security tests. For example, web apps. I want somebody working for me that has a lot of development experience so they know how that developer thinks, right? Because at the end of the day, we love developers because they're creating the security flaws that we exploit. So when you have that in your background, development, you're in a much better position of thinking how developers think so you could better find security flaws. So I really think starting with the fundamentals is really a good step if you're starting out in the pen testing world. And of course, how do you get to become a really good pen tester? It's the same advice if you were going to go play at Carnegie Hall. Practice, practice, and practice.
Thank you very much. So that's all the time that we have. So I really appreciate, Kevin, you coming out. I appreciate the insights and the demos and tests. Always interesting. I know people have loved it, got great comments the first time. That's why we had you back out. It's been a couple years, but we wanted to bring you back. I know you love Salt Lake. It's a destination spot for you. You come here a lot.
Yes. Well, it's my favorite vacation spot. But I want to say, I really believe pen testing, and I know Presidio does, they have a really good team.
Absolutely.
I think pen testing is extremely important because you need to know if a true threat actor, an adversary, could compromise your defenses. So you need to actually build it into your life cycle. I know a lot of you are thinking bug bounty, HackerOne, and that's always good as icing on the cake, crowdsourcing, to see if some random security tester could poke a hole and find a potential flaw in your company's like internet-facing web app. But I really think it's extremely important for businesses to build into the life cycle, especially as they're releasing new revisions to an internet-facing application, as they're deploying new technology, to build penetration testing into the life cycle. So I think that's extremely critical, and you need to think about it, because again, how will you know if your security controls are going to hold up against even a moderate sophisticated attacker? And if you're looking for those services, talk to Chris. I'm sure he could help you out.
Thank you very much. So just right after the close here, if everyone could just stay in their seats for just a minute, we're going to have John and Chris come back out, give just some information and data around the rest of the day and what's happening agenda-wise. So that would be fantastic. But I want to say thank you again very much. And from all of us at the Red Sky and the Presidio team, really appreciate your time and your energy coming out and doing what you do. So everyone, Kevin Mitnick.
Thank you. And one more thing is I have a cool gift I brought a lot of you. It's my lockpick business card. So these devices actually are a lockpick set. I actually gave this card to a bellman in Las Vegas recently, and I handed it to him. I said, "Oh, here's my business card." He goes, "Oh, wow, what's this?" I said, "You have to tell me." So he's studying it for a while. He goes, "Oh, I figured it out." I go, "What?" He goes, "You use it to chop weed." I go, "No." No.
It's cocaine.
No,
cocaine.
Don't use it to chop weed. Then I explained it was a break-apart lockpick set. So if you lock yourself out of your home or office, just think of Kevin Mitnick, and I'll open the door for you.
Perfect.
I'll be at the Know Before booth. I believe 1:30 is it?
Well, yeah, 1:30 to 2.
1:30 to
Absolutely.
2. Handing these out at the Know Before booth. Come see me there, and I'll give you a card.
Yeah, and if you don't,
Thank you.
and if you also these big columns, they're also Kevin's card. Just come up and snap off a piece. That'll work. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.